You either confront that person and say, stop being an asshole when I'm trying to take care of myself. Or you just completely ignore them and still take care of yourself and they fade away and that behavior stops, right? And if you're really feeling like there's someone outside of you that controls whether or not you get your self-care, have a conversation with them and tell them. But the truth is, it's you. And you're assigning that power to something outside of you so you don't have to take responsibility over the fact that you're just not taking care of yourself. Because is it real that somebody outside of you is controlling whether or not you get self-care? Does your bank account dictate whether you're self-compassionate? Can you break free from these things that are overpowering you and holding you down and not allowing you to take care of yourself today? Are you able to is there the possibility that you could break free from them? Well, sure. If you had enough desire to, you've broken free from a bunch of shit you didn't want to do. That is called life. That is called experience. You have dropped people like a bad habit when they weren't good to you. I know you can do it. You can do it again. And you can do it again and again until you are the curator of your life and you are the sole person in control of your own happiness, your own self-care, your own self-worth, and your own self-compassion. Stop giving other people that control. They're going to fuck it up. I promise you. Nobody can do it like you can. Nobody can take care of you like you can. The other thing is that when you feel like things are controlling you that are outside of you, that is coming from fear. So again, the example, if you feel like your partner is preventing you from doing self-care because they treat you like such garbage when you do, you're afraid of them treating you like garbage. If you say, I can't get to self-care because I work too much, my job, this or that, that is fear that you're going to lose your job if you're not 1,000% dedicated and dying for a company. Can you break free from that? Absolutely. Yes, you can. Get on Instagram. Get on freaking TikTok right now. Hundreds, thousands of people are doing it in droves. So don't tell me you can't get self-care in because you work too much. That is a choice, and you're giving your power away. You're giving that control away. You're literally giving that control to your fear. So, okay, we've identified all these things, right? These thoughts, these feelings that are causing you to think, I can't do self-care. I don't want to. I just don't wanna. So what's the cure? What do we do to fix that thinking? I mean, I'll give you the Chris notes, the cheat sheet, is that you start looking for something new that excites you and that is going to heal you in a different way. You start looking for self-care ideas that like, ooh, I really want to try that, or that sounds cool, that sounds interesting. Now, I've talked about a billion examples on this show of ways to get self-care. And I literally have 5 that I want to share with you today that are different, they're new, they're cheap, they're not rocket science, and I'm not a genius, but I can come up with these different ideas every episode because I am curious and hungry and excited to find new ways to take care of myself. I want you to have that too. I want you to break free from that codependent, people-pleasing, everyone else is before me, unworthy feeling so that you can join me here on the other side of confident, empowered, in control, and self-accountable for our self-care and our happiness. It's a whole other world. There's more time. There's more freedom. There's certainly a lot more positive experiences and better thoughts on this side. So real quick, I've got 5 new ways that you can get self-care that might be exciting and new that are going to help you get out of that funk you might be in that just tells you, I don't want to do self-care. So number 1, get your vitamin D. whether it's a supplement or if you're here in the Pacific Northwest, everybody dig out your sad lamps, right? It's time to get those seasonal lamps out that help give us some fake sunshine because the clouds are here, folks. Number 2, change your environment. I've talked about this before, take a trip somewhere. Maybe it's time to just up and move. Like, do something completely radical, right? Like, go out there, do something crazy. Or not, maybe just change your living room furniture around. Whatever, change your environment. That always helps give you some self-care. It's always a way to take care of yourself and excite you and reinvigorate whatever motivation you need. It's starting to, it's fall time. It's almost my birthday. So it's time for my annual trip to Brighton Bush. If you have never been to Brighton Bush Hot Springs, it's here in Oregon in the Willamette National Forest. It is a magical, highly magical place. It's out in the middle of nowhere past Detroit Lake, which is towards Salem, Oregon. And it is a natural hot springs that occurs in the volcanoes, the inactive volcanoes of the Willamette National Forest. And they are filled with these warm, natural pools that are infused with lithium from the minerals from the volcano. And if you don't know what lithium does to you, Google it, because goddamn, you absorb it through the water, and so it is an instant, euphoric, calming high. Lithium is what they used to give, mental health patients back in the 30s, like massive doses of it. It is actually, in its pure form, absorbed this way through the water. Much better for you, much easier, and the best sleep you'll ever have. Your skin feels amazing. You have to go online and book it. They did have a fire a couple years ago, so they're still trying to rebuild. But pour your money into this magical place because it is a sanctuary. And if you need some radical self-care, that is the place for it. Look at me. I'm sharing my sacred tips with y'all. Number 3, another option. Again, it's almost my birthday. I do it every year. I go to a float tank. I go to Float On, which is here in Portland. I have an episode with their owner, Greg, talks about all the benefits, what's great about it. But it's literally, it's an isolation tank, a deprivation tank, which half an hour in this baby can change your life. And if you can't afford it, there's also Common Grounds is just it's a public hot tub place you can go to here in Portland. There's different things that you can do. You can make these ideas fit to where you're at. Look for a float tank in your area. They're everywhere now. If you've never tried it, I'm telling you, it is incredible. It absolutely takes you out of this world. Number 4, journal. And I'm never not going to offer this up as self-care advice, ever. Because journaling has been, for me, the number one way to get self-care no matter where I'm at, no matter what's in my bank account, and no matter how I feel about myself. So if you have not engaged in consistent journaling and you're coming up against that feeling of like, I don't want to do self-care, write about it. Write it down. There's something in the action of thinking and then writing it with your hand instead of typing that really slows your brain down and helps you to process whatever you're going through. If you're looking for some good journal prompts, some of my favorite are, how can I show myself love today? Number 2, what can I do today that is self-care? Number 3, what are some things that I can say to myself that are self-compassionate that I would actually believe? I actually do that one every day. I list 3 things that I can say to myself, self-compassionately that I'll believe. And last but not least, I'm going to share with you guys, again, one of my sacred self-care methods. I typically don't share this with a lot of people because I don't want it to run out. Is that selfish or what? My hope is that you guys won't all run to the internet at the same time and crash the site. But there is a tincture. If you don't know what tinctures are, Google it. They're amazing. There's ones for everything. But there is a tincture that I recently tried that blew my mind. And it changed my entire attitude. It's called Fire Elixir. Fire elixir. You Google it. You do the work to find it. I'm not going to give you my link because I don't want them to run out. And I only have a few drops left. So anyway, I just want to give you these different ideas of ways that you can get self-care today so that you can start to feel motivated to take better care of yourself. So again, those five tips for self-care are vitamin D, change in your environment, a float tank, journaling, and of course, my fire elixir. So I know it's been a long episode, but the last thing I want to touch on before I go is why it's so important that you do self-care when you don't feel like it. And I'm just going to run through these real quick, but the most important reason that you should do the self-care when you don't feel like doing it is because it builds the habit. And it builds this habit not only in your interpersonal work, but in everything else you do. When you build the muscle of doing things that you don't want to do, when you say you're going to do them, it develops that muscle in all areas of your life, which is going to help you with work, chores, your partner, your schooling, whatever you might be into. But when we do it first in our interpersonal work, that's when we find the most benefits. So that is the number one reason it's important. It also teaches you to love yourself. And that is something that you need to work on. If you're listening to my podcast, if you're listening to Self-Care is Sexy, it is because you need to learn how to love yourself. The other thing it does when you do self-care when you're not feeling like it is it trains your brain and it tells your brain that you can do hard things. Can you do hard things? Yes, you can. You've done them before. You've come this far in life. You can do hard things. Every time you do self-care when you're not feeling like it, it trains your brain to remind you, you're a fucking badass. You can do hard things. Number 4, it helps remind you that your brain is a big fat fucking liar. And it is. Your brain is always going to come from the negative default mode. Your brain is always going to try and tear you down. It's always going to look for evidence and reasons why you shouldn't do self-care if that's the pattern you've been on. It isn't until you learn to switch that pattern that your brain actually starts looking for ways you can do more self-care. And last but not least, the most important reason that you should do self-care when you don't feel like it is because you are worthy. You are worthy of your own love and attention. You're worthy of taking the time to take care of yourself. And that's what I hope you'll do today. Thank you so much for listening. That's it for today. If you have a story you'd like to share and you want to be on the show, please email me. It's Chris, Kris, at selfcareissexy.com. Okay, we got some really great content coming your way, so stay tuned. And remember that self-care is sexy. We're giving you permission to put yourself first.